My name is Marcus. I'm 27 years old, and for the past 3 years, I've worked as a marketing specialist at Horizon Tech in Seattle. On paper, my life is simple. I work at a mid-sized cloud solutions company, the kind where everyone moves fast, talks in metrics, and measures their worth in KPIs and quarterly growth. 9 to 5, 5 days a week. Deadlines, dashboards, performance reviews. Nothing glamorous, just steady momentum. Outside of work, I rent a small one-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill. Exposed brick walls, old hardwood floors that creak if you step too hard. A window that overlooks the street below, where buses hiss to a stop and people hurry past with coffee cups and headphones, always going somewhere important. My mornings start the same way every day. Black coffee from a local roaster 2 blocks away. No sugar, no cream, just bitter enough to wake me up. I ride the light rail downtown, earbuds in, watching the city slide past. Steel, glass, rain, motion. Evenings are quiet. Jogging the paths around Lake Washington when the weather cooperates, binge watching old sci-fi shows when it doesn't. I'm not the guy who dominates meetings. I don't talk over people. I don't chase credit. I'm reliable, quiet, and consistent. The one who delivers without demanding attention. That's how I've always liked it. Predictable, safe. After my last relationship ended, with words like too steady and too boring still echoing in my head, I learned to appreciate calm. Drama felt expensive. Stability felt like survival. But on Christmas Eve, everything I thought I understood about myself and about boundaries shifted. The company holiday party was held at an upscale hotel downtown, the kind that makes you feel underdressed the moment you step inside. Crystal chandeliers hung from impossibly high ceilings, scattering warm light across polished marble floors. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city and Elliott Bay beyond, Seattle glowing softly under a winter sky. A massive Christmas tree stood near the center of the room, decorated in gold and white, pine scent mixing with catered hors d'oeuvres and mulled wine. Jazz versions of holiday classics played low in the background. Laughter bounced off the walls. Glasses clinked in celebration. The open bar kept spirits high, literally and figuratively. I hadn't planned to stay long. My strategy for these things was always the same. Show up, make polite conversation, eat something decent, and leave before people started saying things they'd regret Monday morning. I wore a simple navy suit, skipped the tie, and grabbed a glass of soda water so no one would ask if I wanted a drink. I was mid-conversation with a couple of sales guys about a recent product launch, nodding, half listening, when the energy in the room shifted. She arrived. Emma Reeves didn't walk into rooms so much as command them. At 34, she was Horizon Tech's CEO, recruited from a major New York firm 6 months earlier to steer us through financial dips and brutal competition. Sharp, decisive, unflinching. The kind of leader who made people sit straighter without raising her voice. That night, she wore a deep emerald green gown, elegant, fitted, understated enough to seem effortless. Her auburn hair, usually tied back in a tight professional bun, cascaded loosely over her shoulders. Heads turned, conversations stalled, then resumed with renewed energy. But something was off. Her eyes looked tired, shadowed despite careful makeup. Her posture, normally rigid with confidence, seemed strained, and her glass of whiskey never stayed full for long. I noticed because I couldn't help noticing. I stayed where I was, telling myself it wasn't my business. Then she was suddenly there, standing beside me. Marcus. Her voice cut through the noise, smooth, familiar, edged with something I couldn't place. I turned, startled. Yeah? You're not much for these parties, are you? She said, studying me with a small, knowing smile. I blinked. The CEO knew my name. Not from a report header, not from a presentation slide, from memory. Not really my scene, lightly replied, but the food's good. She laughed, a genuine sound, warm and unguarded, and clinked her glass gently against mine. Smart man, most people here are just performing. We talked. At first, it was safe. Work, the upcoming quarter, market pressures, familiar ground. But as minutes passed, her words began to blur slightly, her gestures looser, her personal space shrinking. She leaned in closer than necessary, her perfume vanilla with something floral wrapped around me. "You know," she said quietly, "you're different from everyone here." I felt heat rise up my neck. "You don't try to impress, you just do the work. That's rare." Was this flirting? Before I could respond, she took my hand, firm, decisive, and guided me toward a quieter alcove near the windows. The city lights shimmered below us like fractured stars reflected on wet streets. "You know," she said, blue eyes locking onto mine, "I've been watching you. You're steady, reliable, and honestly attractive in a way that doesn't scream for attention." My mind reeled. Emma Reeves, my CEO, stood inches away from me, intoxicated, vulnerable, saying things that could never be unsaid. Her breath was warm, tinged with whiskey. She leaned closer. For a moment, I froze. Part of me wanted to close the distance, to feel chosen, to be wanted. Then reality crashed down. She was drunk. She was my boss, and if I crossed that line, it would haunt us both. I placed my free hand gently on her shoulder. "Emma," I said quietly, forcing steadiness into my voice, "you're not yourself right now." She blinked. "You're intoxicated, and I really like you, more than I should admit, but if you were sober, I'd be the one to make the first move." The words hung heavy between us. Her expression shifted. Surprise, then hurt, then understanding. "You're right," she whispered. "God, what am I doing?" She swayed, grabbing the wall for balance. "Let me get you home," I said, wrapping an arm around her waist before she could fall. "You shouldn't be here like this." She didn't argue, just nodded. We slipped out a side door, a few curious glances following us, seeds of rumors already rooting root. The drive through rain-slicked streets was silent. The wipers kept time. Emma leaned back, eyes closed, exhaustion etched into her face. Her penthouse overlooked Green Lake, sleek, modern, minimal. I guided her inside, poured water, made her drink it, helped her to bed, pulled the covers up. For a moment, I stood there, watching her breathe. Then I left. Driving home through empty streets, regret and relief twisted together in my chest. I'd set a boundary, and somehow I knew my life would never feel predictable again. The silence at work on Monday felt louder than any rumor. It wasn't the absence of sound, it was the way conversations bent when I walked past, the way voices dipped just enough to notice, the way eyes lifted from screens, lingered half a second too long, then snapped back down like they'd been burned. Seattle rain streaked the glass walls of Horizon Tech's lobby as I stepped inside, shaking water from my coat. The building smelled like fresh coffee and recycled air, familiar and comforting in a way that suddenly felt undeserved. I told myself I was imagining it. I rode the elevator up with 3 coworkers who normally talked nonstop. This time, no one spoke. The soft instrumental music hummed overhead, filling the gap where casual chatter used to live. When the doors opened, they stepped out quickly like passengers abandoning a sinking ship. I walked to my desk and logged in. Emails, Slack notifications, meeting invites. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt normal. Emma didn't come in that morning. By 10, the whispers were everywhere. I caught fragments as I passed the break room. Left early with him. Christmas party. CEO, can you believe it? My stomach tightened. I sat at my desk, hands hovering uselessly over the keyboard, replaying Christmas Eve like a loop I couldn't turn off. Her voice, her hand on mine, the way she'd looked at me when I said no, hurt, then grateful, then ashamed. I hadn't touched her, I hadn't crossed the line, but in offices like this, truth mattered less than perception. Around noon, my manager, Greg, appeared beside my cubicle. He was a mid-40s numbers guy with thinning hair and a permanent crease between his brows, like worry had carved itself there years ago and never left. "Marcus," he said quietly, "HR wants to see you." My heart sank. The HR conference room was too bright, all white walls and glass, like a place designed to make you feel exposed. Two people sat at the table. Linda from HR, tight smile, tablet in front of her, and a lawyer I didn't recognize. They gestured for me to sit. Marcus, Linda began, folding her hands, this is a fact-finding conversation. That phrase echoed like a warming bell. They asked me to walk them through the party, who I spoke to, when I left, why I left early, whether I consumed alcohol, whether Emma consumed alcohol. I told the truth, every word. I didn't embellish, I didn't defend myself aggressively. I explained that she was intoxicated, that I stopped her, that I took her home to make sure she was safe, and that I left immediately afterward. The lawyer scribbled notes, expression unreadable. Linda nodded slowly. She said, "You understand that power dynamics complicate situations like this." "Yes," I replied. "That's why I didn't let it go further." There was a pause. Long. Heavy. "We'll be in touch," she said finally. I walked out feeling hollow. By the end of the day, it was official. Emma Reeves had requested a temporary leave of absence. The announcement hit company-wide Slack just before 5. Effective immediately, Emma Reeves will be stepping back from her role pending an internal review. Interim leadership will be handled by the executive board. No details, no explanations, but everyone filled in the blanks anyway. By Tuesday, I was no longer invisible. People avoided sitting next to me in meetings. A few offered tight smiles, the kind you give someone whose name you don't want attached to yours. Others looked at me with something closer to accusation, as if I had done something wrong by saying no, as if restraint were a crime. Then the rumors sharpened, that I made a move on her, that I took advantage, that I'd been rewarded somehow. Each version twisted the knife a little deeper. I stopped eating lunch in the break room, took my coffee at odd hours, kept my head down, did my work, delivered everything on time. But the damage was already done. On Friday afternoon, Greg asked me to step into a conference room. "I'll be straight with you," he said, not meeting my eyes. "This situation has made leadership uncomfortable." I waited. "They're restructuring your role," he continued. "It's not punitive, just preventative." Preventative, that was the word they used when they didn't want to say, "We don't want you here anymore." My position was eliminated by the end of the month. Severance package, neutral reference, a polite handshake out the door. I packed my desk in silence. As I left the building for the last time, rain soaking through my jacket, I wondered when doing the right thing had started costing so much. 3 days later, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Marcus, it's Emma." My chest tightened. "I heard what happened. I'm so sorry." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "You don't owe me anything." The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "I do," she finally wrote, "and I need to see you, not as your CEO, just as myself." I hesitated. Then I typed back. "Okay." We met at a small cafe near Green Lake, quiet and unassuming. She looked different without the armor of leadership. Simple sweater, jeans, hair pulled back loosely, tired, human. She didn't reach for me this time. "I stepped down," she said softly, "not because I had to, because I should have." I listened. "I crossed a line," she continued, "even if nothing happened and you paid for my mistake." Silence stretched between us, filled only with the clink of cups and distant rain. "I didn't regret stopping you," I said finally. "I regret the fallout." She nodded, eyes shining. "I won't let it be for nothing." I didn't know what she meant then, but I felt it, something shifting again. Not loudly, not suddenly, just enough to change the direction of everything. Losing my job didn't happen all at once. It unfolded slowly, like grief does, quietly, in moments that caught me off guard. The first morning I woke up without an alarm, the instinct to reach for my badge before remembering I no longer needed it. The hollow stretch of hours that used to belong to work, now unclaimed and heavy. Seattle kept moving without me. Buses still hissed to a stop outside my apartment. The coffee shop downstairs still opened at 6. People still hurried past my window with purpose etched into their faces. I watched them from the silence of my kitchen, mug cooling in my hands, wondering when my life had slipped off its rails. I told myself I'd bounce back, that I had savings, skills, time. But confidence is fragile when it's built on stability, and stability had been taken from me in a single polite meeting. Emma checked in at first sparingly, a message every few days. Simple things. How are you holding up? Did you eat today? I saw this article and thought of you. I didn't know how to respond at first. Part of me wanted distance. Another part, one I didn't want to admit existed, felt anchored by her presence, by the fact that someone else carried the weight of what had happened instead of pretending it was nothing. Eventually, our messages turned into calls, then coffee. We walked around Green Lake one gray afternoon, jackets zipped, hands shoved into pockets, breath visible in the cold air. No expectations, no labels, just two people walking in the same direction for a while. I don't know who I am without that job, she admitted quietly as we passed a row of bare trees. Being in charge was armor. I forgot how heavy it was until I took it off. I nodded. I don't know who I am without mine either. That was the truth. We were both unmoored, drifting in the same uncertain space, not as CEO and employee, not as scandal and rumor, but as two people stripped down to the parts that mattered. Weeks passed. Emma officially resigned. No press release spun it as a victory. No dramatic exit, just a clean break. She sold the penthouse overlooking the lake, moved into a smaller place across town. Simpler, quieter. We didn't rush anything. That mattered to me more than she knew. Our relationship, if it could even be called that at first, grew in the spaces between conversations, in shared silence, in grocery store trips where we debated pasta brands like it was a life decision, in evenings spent cooking badly and laughing about it. One night, while washing dishes in my tiny kitchen, she reached for my hand. Not urgently, not like that night at the party, just a gentle, deliberate choice. Is this okay? She asked. I looked at her, really looked. No power, no alcohol, no imbalance, just intention. Yes, I said. This time, when she kissed me, it felt earned. I found work again, slowly. Contract projects at first, consulting gigs, nothing glamorous, but it rebuilt something inside me I hadn't realized was broken. Emma supported me without rescuing me. That mattered too. She never offered connections unless I asked, never tried to fix me. She listened. She sat with me on days when rejection emails stacked up and my confidence thinned. I chose you, she said once, sitting beside me on the couch, knees tucked beneath her. Not because you were safe, but because you were right. The words stayed with me. A year passed. Life didn't turn into a fairy tale. It became something better. Real, steady, shared. I landed a role at a smaller firm where integrity mattered more than image. Emma started mentoring women in leadership, quietly, without cameras or applause. On the anniversary of that Christmas Eve, we stood by Green Lake again. The trees were bare, the air sharp. Do you ever regret it, that night? I thought about it, about the boundary, the fallout, the loss, then about everything that followed. No, I said, because choosing the right thing didn't just change my life. She smiled softly. It changed mine too. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you everything you thought you needed. And sometimes, if you're patient, it gives you something truer in return. Not power, not security, but someone who chooses you back.